Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of a memory, staring into a past that feels both achingly familiar and terrifyingly foreign. My name is Samantha, and at 40, I thought I had life mostly figured out. Married to Daniel for 15 years, we've carved out a rhythm in the heart of Chicago, a city that never stops humming, never stops demanding. I'm a graphic designer, someone who finds solace in the predictability of lines and colors, in the quiet of a well-ordered routine. Daniel, though, he's different. At 43, he's a corporate consultant, always carrying this intensity, this need to steer every situation, every moment. Sometimes it feels like a weight pressing down on me, but more often, it's a strange kind of comfort, knowing he's got everything under control. Our marriage hasn't been perfect. What marriage is? We've had our share of late-night spats over forgotten chores or misread tones, our schedules pulling us in opposite directions. But beneath it all, there's always been this unspoken tether, a steady love that keeps us grounded. Still, the city wears on you after a while. The endless traffic snarls, the pressure of deadlines, the weight of social expectations. It chips away at something inside. I could feel it in myself, in the way my shoulders stayed perpetually tense, in the way Daniel's silences grew longer, heavier. We needed a break, a chance to breathe. That's when Daniel came up with the idea. A getaway, he called it. A remote wooden cabin by Lake Wisteria, tucked away somewhere he'd stumbled across online. "Just the two of us, Sam," he'd said, his voice softer than usual, almost pleading. No phones, no work, just silence, a reset. I could see it in my mind before he even finished speaking. Long, aimless walks through a forest so dense the world would disappear, nights curled up by a crackling fire, rediscovering the parts of each other we'd let slip away in the chaos of daily life. I felt a spark of excitement I hadn't in years, a flutter in my chest at the thought of escaping, of stripping everything back to just us. I remember packing light, just a duffel with the essentials, a couple of sweaters, and a book I'd been meaning to read for months. Daniel was meticulous as always, double-checking the car, mapping out the route. The drive was 6 hours, a stretch of highway that bled into winding back roads as the city lights faded behind us. We didn't talk much on the way. I tried to fill the silence with small talk, about the weather, about a project I'd just wrapped up. But Daniel's responses were clipped, distracted. I noticed his hands on the steering wheel, knuckles pale from gripping too tight, but I brushed it off. He was probably just tired, I told myself. We both were. By the time we pulled up to the cabin, it was late. The kind of late where the darkness feels heavier than it should, like it's pressing down on your chest. I barely remember stumbling into the cabin last night, exhaustion pulling me under before I could even take in the surroundings. But this morning, everything feels different, like the world has taken a deep breath and invited me to do the same. I wake to the sound of birds chirping outside, their songs weaving through the faint rustle of pine trees brushing against the window. It's a sound so pure, so untouched by the grind of the city, that for a moment I just lie there in the narrow bed, letting it wash over me. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine, sneaking through a crack in the window and filling the small room with a kind of quiet I've forgotten exists. I sit up, the old wooden floor creaking under my bare feet as I take in the cabin for the first time in daylight. It's small, cozy in a way that feels like a hug. Worn but charming, with a stone fireplace in the corner, its hearth cold from years of disuse, and walls that seem to whisper stories of past visitors. Sunlight filters through the trees outside, casting golden patterns that dance across the room, shifting with every breeze. I pull on a light sweater, the morning chill nipping at my skin, and pad over to the tiny kitchen. There's an old percolator on the counter, a relic that looks like it's been here as long as the cabin itself. I set it to brew. The the gurgling sound filling the silence as the bitter aroma of coffee starts to mingle with the earthy air. Through the window, I catch sight of Daniel outside, standing near the edge of Lake Wisteria. His hands are shoved deep into his pockets, his shoulders hunched slightly as he stares at the water, lost in some thought I can't reach. There's a stillness to him, a weight I can almost feel from here, and it tugs at something in my chest. I pour myself a mug of tea instead of coffee, the steam curling up in lazy wisps, and step out onto the terrace. The wooden boards groan softly under my weight as I approach him, the cool air biting at my cheeks. The view from here is breathtaking. Lake Wisteria stretches out like a sheet of glass, its surface so still it mirrors the dense forest surrounding it. Every pine and birch doubled in perfect reflection. Every now and then, a fish breaks the calm, sending tiny ripples outward, or a leaf drifts down from above, disturbing the illusion. In the distance, the haunting call of a loon echoes across the water, a sound so lonely yet so beautiful it makes my heart ache. I clear my throat softly, not wanting to startle him, and hold out my mug as a kind of peace offering. "Couldn't sleep either?" I ask, my voice quieter than I mean it to be, almost swallowed by the vastness around us. He turns his head just enough to acknowledge me, his eyes meeting mine for a fleeting second before drifting back to the lake, like he's searching for something in its depths that I can't see. His silence hangs between us, thicker than the morning mist rolling off the water. I take a sip of my tea, the warmth grounding me as I settle into a weathered chair on the terrace, watching him from a distance. There's something about the way he stands there, so still, so unreachable, that sends a tiny shiver down my spine. Not from the cold, but from a feeling I can't quite name. I tell myself it's just the unfamiliarity of this place, the way it strips away the noise of our usual life and leaves us bare, exposed to each other in ways I'm not sure I'm ready for. I'm lost in that thought when movement catches my eye near the tree line, just beyond the clearing that surrounds the cabin. Two figures step out from the shadows of the towering pines, their shapes emerging like ghosts from the fog. They're tall, broad-shouldered men, both wearing dark green uniforms that remind me of park rangers or maybe private security. Their faces are weathered, etched with lines that speak of years spent outdoors, and they carry themselves with an air of quiet authority. I peg them to be in their late 30s, maybe early 40s, men who've seen things, done things. One of them holds a clipboard, his fingers tapping against it rhythmically, while the other has a radio clipped to his belt, its antenna jutting out like a warning. I squint to make out more details, but the distance blurs their features, leaving me with only impressions. Hardened eyes, purposeful strides. My gaze shifts to Daniel, expecting him to be as surprised as I am, but instead, he's already moving toward them, his posture relaxed, almost welcoming. I watch, my fingers tightening around the mug, as he reaches out and shakes their hands, one after the other, like he's been waiting for them all along. A knot forms in my stomach. He didn't mention anything about visitors or a property check, not during the drive, not last night, not even this morning. What's going on here? I stay seated, rooted to the chair, the steam from my tea rising in slow, ghostly curls as I try to piece together what I'm seeing. Daniel turns back toward me, his face half shadowed by the rising sun, and offers a faint smile that I can't read. "They'll stay for an hour, if you don't mind," he says, his voice smooth, casual. But there's an undercurrent to it, a weight that presses against my chest. I nod slowly, unsure, telling myself it's probably just some routine inspection, something he forgot to mention in the rush to get here. But deep down, I know that's not it. Something feels off. One of the men starts walking toward me, while the other lingers near Daniel, their conversation too low for me to catch. The man approaching me is imposing, his boots crunching against the gravel path with deliberate steps. As he gets closer, I see the name tag pinned to his chest, Mark. His presence looms over me as he stops just a step away, too close for comfort, and I feel the air shift, grow heavier. My breath catches in my throat when he places a hand on my shoulder, not rough but firm, like he's staking a claim. I freeze, every muscle in my body locking up as he leans down, his voice a low murmur meant for only me to hear. He wants to watch. We'll just do as he asks, he says, the words slithering into my ear like a cold wind. My mind stumbles over itself, trying to make sense of what he's implying. Watch what? Do what? My eyes dart to Daniel, searching for some kind of explanation. Some sign that this is a misunderstanding. But he's already turning away, walking back toward the veranda with that same unreadable expression. His back is to me now, but I can feel the weight of his gaze somehow, even from here, like he's still watching, waiting. My heart is pounding so hard I can hear it in my ears, a frantic drumbeat that drowns out the distant call of a bird. My heart is still hammering in my chest as I stand inside the cabin now, the air feeling thicker, almost suffocating, like it's pressing against my skin. The wooden walls seem to close in around me, their rough grain catching the dim light in jagged patterns that make the small space feel even smaller. I'm trembling, my hands unsteady, my mind a whirlwind of questions that I can't seem to pin down. How did Daniel arrange this? Why isn't he stepping in to stop whatever this is? And the most unsettling thought of all, why am I still here, rooted to this spot, when every instinct screams at me to bolt for the door? The floorboards creak under my weight with every tiny shift, the sound sharp and grating in the heavy silence. Outside, the wind rustles through the trees, a low whisper that seeps through the cracks in the cabin, carrying with it the faint, wild scent of the forest. The door stands half open, letting in slivers of sunlight that slice across the room, illuminating dust motes that drift lazily in the air. I can't tear my eyes away from that narrow gap, that sliver of escape. But my feet won't move. Mark is near me, his presence a quiet storm, and the other man, his name tag reads Travis, stands just a step behind him, both of them too close, their shadows stretching long across the floor. Mark's voice cuts through the tension, low and calm, almost too smooth, like he's practiced this 100 times. "We've done this before," he says, his eyes steady on mine, unblinking. "It's just an arrangement. Nothing happens unless you're on board. You don't have to do a thing you don't want to." His words are meant to reassure, I think, but they land hollow, echoing in the space between us. I can see the lie in the way his jaw tightens just slightly, the way his gaze flickers toward the window for a split second. I follow that glance, and there's Daniel, out on the veranda, his back to us, sitting in that same weathered chair I was in earlier. His posture is rigid, shoulders squared, like he's waiting for something inevitable. My stomach twists at the sight of him, a mix of anger and betrayal bubbling up, but there's something else there too. A strange, shameful curiosity that I can't shake, no matter how much I want to. My mind races back through the years of our marriage, the quiet moments of unspoken desires, the resentments we buried under forced smiles and routine. Was this some kind of twisted test? Did Daniel think this would force me to confront something he's always suspected about me? Something I've never even admitted to myself? Or is this his way of dealing with his own hidden thoughts, using me as a mirror to reflect whatever darkness he's been carrying? I don't know, and the not knowing is tearing me apart. My hands shake as I reach for my tea mug, still sitting on the small scarred table nearby. The ceramic clinks against the wood, the sound unnaturally loud in the stifling quiet, and I grip it for a moment, as if the warmth lingering in the handle could anchor me. Travis steps closer then, his movement slower than Mark's, less aggressive, but still heavy with intent. His presence is overwhelming in a different way, like a shadow you can't escape, and I feel the weight of inevitability pressing down on me, crushing any last shred of resistance. I take a deep breath, trying to steady myself, and the air fills my lungs with the sharp scent of pine mixed with the faint, musky trace of sweat. It's dizzying, grounding and disorienting all at once. My eyes dart to the window again, to Daniel's unmoving form, and I wonder what he's thinking, what he's feeling, if he's even feeling anything at all. Does he want me to stop this, to walk away? Or is he waiting for me to cross a line we've never dared to approach before? I'm torn, split down the middle between fear and a pull I can't name. A pull that feels like it's been lurking beneath the surface of my life, for I'm standing here, in the heart of the cabin, where the air feels like it's holding its breath right alongside me, waiting for what comes next. My pulse is a wild thing, thrashing against my ribs as I try to make sense of the moment that's unfolding, a moment I never saw coming in all the years I've spent building a life with Daniel. The wooden floor beneath me groans with every slight movement, its rough texture scraping against my bare knees as I lower myself, almost instinctively, surrendering to a current I can't fight. The scent of pine is everywhere, sharp and earthy, seeping through the cracks in the walls and mingling with the warmth of my own uneven breaths. It's intoxicating in a way that makes my head spin, grounding me in this surreal haze, even as it pulls me further from reality. Afternoon sunlight pours through the window, a golden stream that bathes the room, in a glow that feels too pure for what's happening here. It catches on the dust particles floating lazily in the air, turning them into tiny shimmering specks that dance around me like silent witnesses. The distant sound of Lake Wisteria lapping gently against the shore drifts in through the half-open door, a soft, rhythmic murmur that contrasts so starkly with the storm raging inside me. Every creak of the floorboards beneath me is amplified, a jarring reminder of where I am, of what I'm allowing to unfold. It's as if the cabin itself is watching, its old bones whispering secrets I'm not sure I want to hear. Through that half-open door, I can see Daniel's silhouette on the veranda, a dark outline against the blinding light. He's just sitting there, unmoving, his presence a weight that presses down on me heavier than anything else in this room. I can't see his face, but I don't need to. I can feel the coldness in his gaze, a detached curiosity that cuts deeper than anger or jealousy ever could. There's no heat in it, no emotion I can grasp onto, just an icy stillness that sends a shiver racing down my spine, chilling me to the core even as the warmth of the sun touches my skin. I wonder what he sees when he looks at me now, if he sees me at all, or if I've become something else entirely in his eyes. My emotions are a tangled mess, a whirlwind of guilt that gnaws at my insides, confusion that clouds every thought, and, God help me, a dark, forbidden thrill that I can't push away no matter how hard I try. It's a feeling that terrifies me, that strips me bare in a way that goes beyond the physical, tearing down every wall I've built, every pretense I've clung to over the years. I feel exposed, raw, like my very soul is laid out on this worn wooden floor for anyone to see. I can't look at Daniel, can't bear to meet that unreadable stare. So I focus on the grain of the wood beneath my hands instead. The roughness of it bites into my palms, a harsh, grounding sensation that I cling to desperately, trying to anchor myself in something real, something solid, as everything else slips out of my control. Mark and Travis are near, their movements precise, almost clinical, as if this is just another task on a checklist. There's no warmth in their actions, no flicker of passion or hesitation, just a cold efficiency that makes this feel like a transaction, A deal struck in shadows I wasn't privy to. Their uniforms rustle softly with each motion, the sound blending with the creak of the floor and the distant lake, creating a strange, disjointed symphony that fills the silence. I keep my eyes down, tracing the knots and scratches in the wood, trying to lose myself in the mundane details while my heart races and my mind screams. Their presence is a constant pressure, a reminder of the choice I've made, or the choice that's been made for me. I'm not even sure anymore. Time seems to stretch and warp, each second dragging on like an eternity, yet slipping away too fast for me to grasp. My breath comes in shallow gasps, the air thick with the scent of pine and something heavier, something primal that I can't name but can't ignore. The warmth of the sun, I hear the cabin door creak open, the sound slicing through the suffocating stillness like a blade. My heart stumbles, a frantic rhythm against my chest, as Daniel's footsteps echo on the wooden floor, slow and deliberate, each one a heavy drumbeat in the quiet. I'm still here, curled up in the corner of the room, my knees drawn tight to my chest, my hands trembling as they clutch at the rough fabric of my sweater. I can't bring myself to look up, can't face whatever expression might be on his face after everything that's just unfolded. The air feels thicker now, charged with a weight of unspoken words, a storm of emotions I'm too afraid to name. The faint scent of pine still lingers, but it's overpowered by something raw, something human, a reminder of the boundary we've just crossed. I feel the floor shift slightly as Daniel kneels beside me, his presence a quiet force that pulls at me even though I refuse to meet his gaze. His hand reaches out, and I flinch at first, expecting something harsh, something accusing. But his touch is gentle, almost reverent, as his fingers brush through my hair, lingering there with a heaviness that carries more meaning than I can unravel. My breath catches, a shaky inhale that betrays how fragile I feel in this moment. Then he speaks, his voice low, a whisper that seems to reverberate through the small space. "Now I've seen the real you," he says, the words soft but laced with an undercurrent I can't quite pin down. Is it satisfaction? Sadness? Or some tangled mix of both that I'm too overwhelmed to decipher? His tone isn't angry, isn't sharp with judgment, and that confuses me more than anything. I expected rage, disgust, something to match the chaos tearing through me, but there's none of that in his voice. Finally, I force myself to look up, my eyes meeting his, searching for any trace of condemnation. But there's nothing like that in his expression. Instead, there's a strange kind of acceptance, a quiet knowing that unnerves me to my core. It's as if he's been waiting for this, as if he's always suspected there was a part of me I kept hidden, even from myself, and now he's seen it laid bare. His gaze holds mine, steady and unyielding, and I feel like I'm being seen in a way I've never been before, stripped down to the rawest, most vulnerable parts of who I am. I want to look away, to hide from that piercing stare, but I can't. I'm caught, trapped in the weight of his understanding, and it terrifies me as much as it draws me in. Inside, I'm a mess of conflicting truths. There's guilt, gnawing at the edges of my mind, whispering that I've shattered something sacred, something I can't ever repair. But beneath that, buried under layers of shame, there's something else. A confession I can barely admit to myself. I liked it. The rush, the forbidden edge of it all, the way it tore through every boundary I thought I'd built. I don't regret it, not fully, even though I know I should. That realization sits heavy in my chest, a dark secret I'm not sure I can ever voice aloud, not even to myself. It's a truth that feels like a betrayal, not just of Daniel, but of the person I thought I was. How do I reconcile that? How do I live with knowing I've stepped into a version of myself I didn't even recognize until now? The silence that follows his words stretches on, heavy and unbroken, save for the sounds drifting in from outside. The lake seems louder now, its gentle ripples against the shore, a constant murmur through the half-open door, a stark reminder of the calm we've shattered. It's as if the world beyond these walls is carrying on, indifferent to the storm that's erupted within them. I can hear the faint rustle of leaves in the breeze, the distant cry of a bird slicing through the stillness, and it all feels so far away, like I'm no longer part of that untouched beauty. I'm here, in this cabin, feeling more lost than ever.